Welcome back. Before we wrap, let's get to some of the questions and comments sent in by you. Jack writes, are companies still finding ways to push out older workers? I've heard stories of job eliminations and retirement incentives being used. And even on boards, it seems like older members are sometimes pressured to step aside. Rudy, I'll start with you.
Well, that's true. That's when companies are reorganizing or cutting back, they aim squarely at the older folks because it's easier to incentivize people to move out than it is to make the changes that probably an organization needs to make, a root and branch change. So it's a lot easier to go after the old guy or the old woman.
I'm not sure what you do about it. I mean, I don't have a solution for it, but Rudy's right. That's if you're running a business or you're managing a business, then you're going to be looking for the cheapest way to do it, and that's the cheapest way. What it will do, and probably is in part now already happening, and that is that the government has to pick up the slack in some way. Mm-hmm. There has to be some it has to be a way in which you get income. I mean, we are slowly getting to a world where we have to figure out that what's an income, and then if you're earning that, that's great, but you need to have an income. There are too many people walking the street not knowing where they live, where they're going to live and be happy with their life. They don't have enough money.
So you're talking about a basic income.
That's one example. It's got lots of problems, a basic income, which we can go through, but I think you need to start there. There needs to be an assumption that people have got a basic income, and the debate should be over how that's achieved.
I would say, in answer to Jack's question, sometimes, in my experience with large organizations, especially some of the unionized ones, you get people who hang on at the end because they just want the big buyout at the end. And those people I'm happy to see go, because if you're doing that at the end, you're not working. You're not there because, as Rudy said, you like to work. You're there because you're waiting for a big check. But it does become the low-hanging fruit, and that's why the companies do go for it.
All right, I'll give you the final word.
I want to thank Jack for raising the premise of what I said earlier, and that is that, you got to be careful when you push people out, because at the end of the day, you look back 25 years ago, there were 4 people for every individual who you were supporting in retirement. Now it's flipped. You've got 1 person supporting 4. And I truly believe that this is really a conversation you're going to have with individuals, because if you ask anybody nowadays in a business survey what the most important issue is, it's not AI, it's not the economy per se, it's finding people to do the work. So for everyone you shove out the door, you may have a great difficulty finding someone to come in. You got to have that conversation to see whether or not somebody will work for $75,000 instead of $125,000, and I think that's where this begins.
All right, before we go, as we always do at the end of each show, is we get final thoughts from each of you. So I'll start with you, David.
Oh gosh, I wish I had, I thought I'd be a lot smarter as I got to be 87 years of age. I thought I would know the answers. Somewhere there was a wee small room where all answers were offered, and I understood them. It's not true. And so the best I can do is to say that I'm more and more against rules that are related to numbers that are fixed. There needs to be far more sensitivity to the differences that people have, so that some people can be happy with $75,000 a year or $150,000, others can't. Somebody need $20,000, whatever. There needs to be a far more important understanding that there's a subtle differences between people, and those subtleties are all the difference for people. So I don't have a pearl of wisdom that points to a silver coin that says, here, do it.
Pretty wise to me.
I'll just end by saying we started out talking about age and competency, and I work with some people that are, in David's age bracket in their 80s, and they're smart as a whip, and I work with some who are much younger than me and completely incompetent. So look at the person, not the age. Good. Look at the person, not the number.
I'm just going to say, and Brian knows my kids, I made the best decision in my life. I married a woman who is smarter, is 12 years my junior. And in fact, we now have 2 Gen Z kids who I hope will look after me. But when I see what they are doing, I mean, don't get me wrong, when she's ready to retire, I'll be 80 years of age. But when I see those young people and what they're doing with AI and the entrepreneurship and the whole sense of public involvement and the diversity that they bring to the table, I'm actually encouraged that we're growing a group of people in society that will have our needs, front and center. But we've got to do something as well to get mobilized to make sure that they know what to do for us.
Rudy.
I agree. See the person, not the superficial aspect of it. I think we need to change the language. I think we need to embrace old age and retirement and the elders. Old age is not a condition to be endured. It's a milestone, an achievement to be celebrated. Rejoice in old age. The more of the old folks that we have to impart their wisdom, the better off we are as a society.
All right, and before we go, some viewer feedback. Lois wrote to us with this. I watched this week's episode of theZoomer on the flu, COVID, and RSV. I really appreciate and agree with so much of what Dr. Gorfinkel said about the things like masking in airports and the importance of early testing, but most of all, I love that she brought attention to the many types of pneumococcal infections. And Deborah writes, what a great show, not combative, but informative and easily understood. Well, thanks, Deb and Lois, for your feedback. And we'll have to leave it there. Remember to let us know what you think. Send us an email, comments@thezoomer.com. And as we wrap, it seems the general conclusion was this: it's the person, not the years, that truly matter. As always, thank you to my panel and to you at home. We'll see you soon. For now, it's time to zoom out.